For nearly 100 years, the WS Cox Plate has been the undisputed weight for age championship of Australasia, featuring a breathtaking honour roll of champions of the Australian turf. From the iconic Farlap back-to-back in the 30s through to Tulloch, Tobin Bronze and Gun Sind in the 60s and 70s. Then the King, Kingston Town, with an unprecedented hat-trick of wins in the 80s. And recently, a cavalcade of modern stars have showcased their greatness with multiple wins. Sunline, Northerly, and So You Think. And the opportunity today to join the greats and crown her career awaits last year's winner, the mighty Mare Winks. The record books are ready to be written with her champion jockey Hugh Bowman aboard. She is chasing her 9th career Group 1. And in her way is the most improved horse in Australia. Godolphin's Hartnell has won his past 3 starts, including the Group 1 Turnbull Stakes, by a combined margin of nearly 17 lengths. Evoking memories of the epic 1986 Cox Plate clash between Bone Crusher and Al Waverley Star.
And Bone Crusher races into equine immortality.
This year's Cox Plate could provide a 30-year sequel with Winks and Hartnell that may well be better than the original. The 2016 William Hill WS Cox Plate, the best 2 minutes in sport.
Valley, where he streeted them by 3 lengths. So it's great to see him back here at Moonee Valley, and being a small field, he won't be far away. You're right, he was facing the breeze there at Caulfield. It was a bit of a sitting duck under the handicap conditions, but he's tough, he can handle weight, he's right up there in the mix. But once again, we're looking at tactics. Here's him. We've got some hard fit horses. Will they get clipping along from the 600 so that the United States, who we see on screen here, doesn't use that fantastic acceleration in Group 1 sprint and beat them?
It's interesting, you know, I will always take weight for age form against handicap form, and you look at the United States and he or she who have been in really good weight for age form. I think horses like Royal Rhapsody, yes, who have respect for Federal and also Ullman, they've got to really step up and carry weight against 2 really good weight for age horses here.
I know he's had a long time off though, but Ladari's an interesting runner for me. His second up record's terrific. He's had the 8 starts for the 2 wins and 3 minor placings, and he was okay first up behind Ullman. Stepping up to the mile now, he's a cheeky chance with the sting out of the track. He looked a lot fitter and tightened up, so he's got a touch of class. I know he's an 8-year-old now, or is he 9 or 8? Yeah, an 8-year-old.
Just the Blamey Stakes, thinking of the Blamey Stakes in the autumn, was he or she in the United States 1-2 over 1600, similar race. Remember that was a fierce gallop that day? They went crazy in that
Yeah,
race.
it was. And what was the ground on that day? Just going back, I think it was good ground, so I'm not sure who's advantaged by a bit of cut in the ground here. Again, are we going to see barriers playing a part? The United States is drawn low in 2. He or she out the wider in 9. Obviously, they've changed a bit with the 3 scratchings. But it'd be interesting to see who can get that nice swooping clean run down the outside.
Whatever happens, I think it's fair to say the most interesting run in the race is the United States, because if he can get through and win this race, then he'd be one of the favourites for the Emirates, which is the old McKinnon, the $2 million weight for age race, where he might take on Winks and a few others on the final day of the carnival. But he's the most fascinating runner in the world.
Well, his 2 next runs, you know, we've always said how good he is. He may, the next 2 runs, he has to prove it.
So he or she set, and so's Greg Miles for the Sweps Crystal Mile.
Field is ready. They're set to go. Gates are back on their mile journey, but the United States are linked at the half slow, and he'll settle out the back. He or she began well, and he's on a mission for the lead under done in the early part. Ladari out wide is pressing on, and as notified, looking for the lead now, followed by Federal. Ullman red cap down on the inside, and they're followed as they settle by Royal Rapture and the United States at the back of the field as they run the first turn at the 1200 metres, and it is Ladari who's taken up the running. So Ladari shows the way with with Federal moving into second, placing nearly a length away. Ullman getting a good trail. He's third on the inside, 3/4 of a length Hiorshi. 2 lengths further back is Royal Rapture, and the United States last of the half dozen runners in the mile as they go down the back and they're approaching the next turn. John Allen has the outsider of the field, Ladari, leading just over a length in front of Federal. Ullman on the rail and the nick away is Hiorshi in 4th placing, and they're 2 lengths then to Royal Rapture, who's just over on the outside trying to keep the United States bottle up close to the inside. So they're on the run down the side heading towards the school near the 600 metres, and Ladari shows it out by about a half to Federal. Now he's managed to get out. McAvoy just must have waved a wand or something, and all of a sudden the United States is there ready to challenge on the outside of Hiorshi. Ullman in behind them with Royal Rapture, but up around the home turn, and it's the United States now striding freely to go up and join Ladari, with Federal in the middle trying to go with the favourite. Then Hiorshi and Ullman into the straight though. The United States out wide on the course, the leader. Ladari staying on, and so is Federal, but the United States is well clear with 100 metres to go from Ladari. Ullman's getting home well, but the favourite is far too good. The United States by about a length. Ladari, who kept coming back, and Ullman ran third. Then came Federal. Maybe he didn't quite run that right out. Followed by Hiorshi, and last in Royal Rapture.
Well, he was the only Group 1 winner left in the race with Stratum Star Scratch. He's a quality horse, we know that. He had a fantastic autumn. He'll go to the final day now in the Emirates. It was a beautiful ride. I didn't Kieran McAvoy. He's always been a good jockey, but he had the flat patch when he left Godolphin. He's blooming again, isn't he?
Well, a lot of race riding is down to confidence, isn't it? You often want to get on the back of a jockey who's riding with confidence, as is Kieran McAvoy. He was on the class horse in the race, but he did make sure he got out early enough. He nudged his way out when Royal Rapture was possibly trying to hold him in a bit, and started his run early, made the most of this horse's stamina, and class prevailed. Good run from Ladari there in second.
Yeah, it was a good run. I, had him there in the Quinellans, if you don't mind, for the people, for my mates watching at home. But anyway, he's got good value. But what I loved about Kieran's ride is, and I think Bradford will be going, bugger, I knew I should have gone half a length further in front of United States and kept him in a pocket and ridden that 3 and 4 deep from the 700 metre bend.
He'll be trying to do the same thing on Lucia Valentina. He's with Sam Harlan.
Kieran McAvoy is the class horse in the race, and never any danger there.
Yeah, it was just a bit sticky early, Sammy. He's not a great beginner. Just let him get into his stride, and I was able to duck down inside of Royal Rapture, and then big strong horse, I was able to push him out, get clear, and then it was just a matter of getting him mobile. He's no problems at the trip, and as I said, wait for age. Those other horses that aren't as high rated had to try and match him, and they couldn't do it.
We're nearing the Cox Plate. Karen, how are you feeling?
Feeling good, yeah. It's nice when you get a couple of winners under your belt. We've got Galante in the next for Lloyd. So looking forward to riding him. Lloyd and his team have done a great job with this horse. He's unfortunately had a little setback early in the spring. Otherwise, he probably would have been contesting the Cox Plate. So he's got the McKinnon to aim at now, and it's nice to see him win here today.
Well done.
Thank you.
Terrific ride by Kieran McAvoy. Nick Williams joins me now, and as you've said all the way along, this isn't the race that you wanted him to be in, but he's back.
You know what? It's a great credit to all our staff at Macedon Lodge. We had a small setback with this horse. The team reassessed, and we've got him here on the day that we wanted to get him here for, albeit we couldn't have him ready for the main race. But he's done a wonderful job. Kieran rode him beautifully, and really that win wasn't much more than a track gallop. He really showed his class there today, and that was terrific, and all credit to Stacey, who looks after him. She does a wonderful job. But most of all, I think there's one man that we've got to thank here today, and it's Marty Synan, the track manager here. If you think about the weather we've had in Melbourne, it's the most terrific 2 or 3 days weather you could ever imagine, and to present us with this racing surface is an absolutely amazing job. If we were in Sydney, they'd cancel the races today, so it just shows you how superior we have it here in Melbourne, and it's a great credit to the team here at Moonee Valley.
He has done a great job. We look forward to seeing this guy maybe in the Emirates Stakes. Is that the obvious one for him? I mean, he is a future stallion.
Oh, he certainly is, yeah. He's by Galileo, and he's the best stallion in the world. He's won 22 odd individual Group 1 winners this year. He's out of a fantastic Pivotal mare that's got a huge page. Pivotal's the best stallion in England. Galileo's the best stallion in the world. He's got a turn of foot. He's got everything anyone would ever want. You'd think I'm trying to sell him, but let me tell you, right this second, he's not for sale, because he's going to win the Emirates yet, and if he's well, we might even think about taking him to Hong Kong.
Okay, we can't wait to see Gallant. First time in 10 years you haven't had a runner at a Cox Plate. Who would you like to put a saddle on, Winks or Hartnell?
I think Winks should be $1.50. I think she's clearly the best horse in the race, and I'd really love to see her win, because I think it's great for racing having the fairy tale stories. If she doesn't win, I'd love to see Chris Lees win with Lucia Valentina and Kieran McAvoy, who's done a good job here for us today. It wouldn't be bad to see him win.
Well done, mate.
Good on you. Thank you.
Nick Williams, yeah, what a horse. I mean, he won the Moonee Valley Cup last year. He outstayed Prince of Penzance in a record. It was an incredible race. He comes back, obviously, a different prep this year, and he wins over 1,600.
And he'd be a great horse in Hong Kong because he sits midfield. He's got that great sprint, so he'd represent Australia very well.
The United States doing just that. So there, Kieran McAvoy, a double today, a winner last night, the last race on the program. He's firing, and so is the United States. So the United States is about to strike here, guys. Ladari's giving it a bit of cheek. McAvoy's got to the right spot, hasn't he?
It was a good front-running ride on Ladari. It was John Allen decided he was going to take the race by the scruff of the neck and see what he had and really make a staying test of it. And he did really well to stay on. And he did come off the fence in the straight, as we've been hearing. That's the best bit of the ground to be on. But United States, look at him just going away from the field there. A long, sustained run. Kieran McAvoy sent him out early. And Ullman running on nicely for third.
Federal couldn't run the 1,600 metres, and you would have to say he or she was very disappointing from his weight for age gallops.
Yeah, I think you'd have to say that. Is it an indicator towards Winks later?
Is it?
Having from the form?
No, I wouldn't imagine from the 3-horse race, Bruce.
So the difference for the United States, he was heavily in the market, as you can see, Ladari and then Allman. So the first 4, 5, 72. We're getting jockey cam, guys. We're going with he or she and Dwayne Dunn, and he was disappointing. Went forward early, but he was one of the first horses beaten, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's just a beautiful bounce out of the 1,600 metres. And, well, Dwayne, he wants to take the sit. What I liked is Ladari just gradually worked across there in his nose roll, and he had a beautiful run in transit by Johnny Allen. Just took his time. It was a nice even gallop, and you can see Federal just sitting off him, having a beautiful run. Allman back to the left of screen. Simon O'Donnell, you're a grandstand jockey. You can take over from the 800.
Yeah, I thought the best thing that Johnny Allen did, he got the pace right, and the horse had his ears pricked, was just travelling comfortably underneath him. He started to stretch Federal. He or she made the move at the right time to come into the race. He just raced like a tired horse today that he's had 3 runs in pretty quick succession and didn't have much left to give. But I'll tell you, United States down the middle of the track, he had plenty to give, and from a long way out, once he got out of that pocket, he was going to win the race.
Well, we can see a bit of the rain on the camera there aboard he or she. What's it like as a jockey when it does rain in the race? What do you do with your goggles?
Well, they can fog up, to be honest, but you do have holes on the right-hand sides of your outside eyeballs, and that gives you a little bit of air once you're riding and going forward. That's quite good. All right.
So, guys, that was he or she with... we look at the totes of with Damien Oliver. It's $4.90 Hartnell and $2 Winks at the moment. We know Yankee Rose is a lot shorter on the tote, so at the moment Winks is holding up on the tote.
Yeah, look, the way this track's racing, Bruce, I think it's coming into Hartnell's hand a little bit. As we know, the inside is not so good now, and, I think the outside draw of Hartnell's probably going to play into his favour a little bit.
And Yankee Rose around about that $7 mark. Ollie, you went and got the stick. You're having a look at the track. I mean, they're getting even wider than we are at the moment, aren't they? I mean, can you notice any difference?
Well, they are, and the thing is, because we had last night's racing here and again today, by the time we get to the Cox Plate, it's going to be about the 16th or 17th race of the weekend. So,
I'll walk with you for a bit.
Yeah, you can see it starting to chop out. It's a bit inferior on the inside, and the cleaner ground is out wider here. But the most important part is from the 800 metres, when they come around that turn into the home straight, when the horses start to come off the bit. With the rain that we've had, the moisture obviously comes to the lowest point, and with the track cambered from the high point being out wider, the moisture is coming down low. So the inferior ground on the inside, also they've opened it up. With the rain coming in, it's getting softer down there. So that's why they're getting out higher on the track to get better ground.
So, Ollie, is it a lane or is it a whole space out here that you can get to?
I'm thinking, Bruce, well, the more racing we have, the wider they seem to be getting. So I'm thinking from, 4 to 10 wide is probably the more desired ground.
So Huey's drawn barrier 3 on Winks. So is he immediately going to try and get off because they're coming up this straight the first time? I mean, is he immediately getting out or not?
Well, you know, the way I look at it is the French horse is going to go forward. Yankee Rose is probably going to go back. So he's probably going to find himself on the fence. So it's not ideal for him. So you don't want to be using up too much petrol early and looking to get out wide. But, you know, as he gets through the race, he's going to be looking to get out wide, but doing it conservatively because he doesn't want to be using up too much gas too early.
Are we in for an upset, do you reckon? I mean, it's that sort of day. I mean, because of the conditions, you feel like the two-horse race becomes a 10-horse race?
Well, I think it brings Lucia Valentina in. I've ridden her on dry ground and on soft ground, and there's no doubt she's a much better horse on soft ground. So it brings her into the race, and particularly if a few jockeys start to get itchy trigger fingers coming around that 800-metre turn and turn it into a stretch home, she could be the one that's sitting out the back, you know, going to be finishing strongly.
What did you think of her in the Underwood Stakes? Now, no horse has actually come off an Underwood Stakes next start to win the Cox Plate in the last 40 years. So it's a fair while ago now. So what did you think of her run? She was finishing in third place here behind Blackheart Bart.
Yeah, it was a good run. The best part of her race was the last furlong. She's been trained to peak for this race. Chris Lees has got a good understanding of her now. She's best on the fresh side, so that's been purposely done coming off that race into the Cox Plate.
And just going back to Hartnell and Winks, if I'm coming up the straight, do you want to be on the outside? Even if they're in the middle of the track, would you rather be outside or just inside if you're Huey Bowman on Winks with Hartnell?
It'll depend on what's happening in front of him, how much has opened up in front of him. We know she's got the quality. She can handle soft ground, and if they open up in front of him, she's still good enough to pick a way through. But I think it does start to favour Hartnell a little bit more the way this track is racing.
One other quick thing, Ollie, it is so windy out here. Does that make a difference at all?
Well, as I said, as they jump from the gates, they'll be coming into this headwind down the straight the first time, Bruce, but it's only a short 200-metre run, so it's not going to be a big effect, and they won't come into it again until they get into the home straight.
Fascinating stuff. Let's go to Neil Kearney.
Would you believe that this is the 7th year in a row that Happy Trails here, or better known as Roy, has come to Moonee Valley for Cox Plate, though? Paul Bashar, his trainer, that's some sort of record.
Yeah, he first come here as a 3-year-old in the Red Anchor, then back the next year in the Crystal Mile, and now the next 5 years here in the Cox Plate.
And always into the same stall number 69.
Yeah, always the same stall.
He knows his way around this place then.
He does. As soon as the float pulls up, I just let him off and he walks straight in here by himself.
Now, he's the second highest earning horse in this Cox Plate field.
Yeah, and the cheapest by.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And quite a few of the punters backing him are elderly folk.
Yeah, although people love him. He's been around for a long time. I remember most of the horses, all the good horses he's raced against, they've all retired and he's still going.
So what's going to happen to him when his racing day's in?
His strapper, Chelsea Moss, she'll take him and he will go into the show ring and she'll use him for eventing and jumping and all that sort of stuff. He'll have a good life.
Let's hope that, like every other year, Roy has a great Cox Plate, enjoys it and pulls up well.
Yeah, so do I. Just hope he pulls up well. That's all I worry about.
Thank you.